Ayubowan. So today's lesson is going to focus all about greetings. Now, why do you think this is important for you to learn, and how does it help you in your IELTS exam? Well, greetings really helps you because when you enter the examiner's room and when you talk to the examiner, greetings are important. Apart from that, in your listening paper as well, sometimes you might hear these greetings. And it could even be a discussion topic in your part 1 in your speaking test. So therefore, it is important that you learn these greetings. අද ලෙසන් එකේ අපි ෆෝකස් කරන්න යන්නේ ආචාර කරනකොට පාවිච්චි කරන phrases සහ වචන. ඇයි අපිට මේක important නැත්නම් වැදගත් වෙන්නේ IELTS exam එකේදී? කොහොමද ඒක අපිට වැදගත් වෙන්නේ? වැදගත් වෙන්නේ speaking test එකේ part 1 කරනකොට අපිට වැදගත් වෙනවා. ඇයි ඒ සමහරක් වෙලාවට part 1 එකේදී greetings කියලා topic එකක් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒව ගැන අහන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට අමතරව ස්පීකිං ටෙස්ට් එකට ගියාම එක්සැමිනර් ග්‍රීට් කරන්න ඕනේ. ලිස්නින් ටෙස්ට් එකේ සමහරක් වෙලාවට කන්වර්සේෂන්ස් ඇහෙනකොට මේ ග්‍රීටින්ග්ස් යන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ හින්දා ඒක රියලි ඉම්පෝටන්ට් ඕගොල්ලෝ හරියට මේ ග්‍රීටින්ග්ස් පුරුදු වෙන එක. Now, before I start the lesson, I'd like you to know that I haven't picked out all the greetings in the language, right? But I have carefully selected some greetings that you can actually practice and that would be useful for you at the beginner level. දැන් මම ඔක්කොම ඉංග්‍රීසි භාෂාවේ තියෙන greetings select කරලා නැහැ, right? lesson එක කරනකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තේරෙයි greetings පොඩ්ඩයි මම select කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඇයි ඒ select කරලා තියෙන greetings ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ඇත්තටම එදිනෙදා practice කරන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද ඔයගොල්ලෝ තාම ඉන්නේ beginner level එකේ හින්දා ඒක ඔයගොල්ලෝ use කරන ගමන් අනිත් greetings Tamanගේ vocabulary එකට එකතු කරගන්න පුළුවන් හින්දා. Right, let us move on. So we're going to have a look at greetings, right? So we've got good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, hello, goodbye, hi, right? So most of these, or rather all of these, right, have intonation when you're using them. Okay, so when you're practicing these kind of vocab, you just can't say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello. That is not correct. Okay, because when we speak with someone, we would be using these phrases naturally, and therefore it is important that we use some intonation. So let's have a look at the first few. Good morning, right? So when you meet someone in the morning time, okay, which is around 6, 7, 8 till about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, you could greet someone by saying good morning, okay? Good morning. So someone can greet you the same way, and then you also can use the same phrase, okay? Then we have good afternoon, right? So which is used from about 12 o'clock in the afternoon till about 4 o'clock because that is afternoon time. So when someone sees you at that time or when you have a telephone conversation with someone, you could use this greeting. Next one is the evening time, so which runs from about 4 till about 7. These times are not set standards, right? I'm just telling you so that you understand when to use it, okay? So it runs from about 4 till about 7, let's say, right? And then you can say good evening, right? Now, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. All of these phrases are used at the start of the conversation, and you could use it actually, right? However, when it comes to good night, okay, we don't use it at the start of the conversation, and it is usually used at the end of the conversation. Okay, so we don't, as we pick up the phone, we don't say good night to someone. We don't use that greeting just like good morning, good afternoon, good evening, right? We don't use that greeting at the start, But when you finish a conversation, okay, or when you meet some friends and you guys are going to go home at the end of the conversation in the night, okay, or at the end of the meeting, you could use good night at the end, okay. Then we have hello. So when you meet someone, you could say hello. Now the difference between hello and hi, okay, the difference is hello is used in a formal context, whereas hi is more often used in a informal context, okay. So we don't say hello, right? We say hello. The reason why some people would say hello is because when we write it in Sinhalese, right, we would write it as hello, and that is not how we actually pronounce it. We say hello, right? Next, we have goodbye, and sometimes we could even say bye. So both of it is used, okay? When it is more formal, we say goodbye, but when it is informal, we say bye. So what do I mean by formal and informal? I've done this before, right? But let's run through it one more time. So formal is when you don't know the person, okay? So example, let's say it's your boss, okay? Or someone at the bank, like a bank manager, or someone that you don't know, that is not family to you, right? Those kind of contexts would be formal. But if you know them really well, they're your friends and family, then we say it is informal. So bye and hi could be used when you are in an informal context. Right? So let's run through the prawn, which I call it pronunciation. I use a short form prawn. Let's run through with it again. Okay, so look at my mouth carefully and try to repeat each word after that. Okay, right. Good morning, right? Good morning. Next one, good afternoon. Okay, good afternoon. Third one, good evening. Eve. Okay, so you have to make sure that you are not saying evening. Okay, it's not evening, but it is evening. V. Okay, so v. Evening. Next one, good night. Okay, so which again is in the night time. Hello. Goodbye. Or you can say bye. Hi. Okay, so most of these words actually have the exclamation mark at the end, right? But I have not used it because I'm trying to teach you the vocab and I don't want to focus on the exclamation marks just because it should be used in a conversation, right? But actually it does have punctuation marks around it, right? But I'm not putting it because I'm just putting up the words. But actually, if you're going to use it in a conversation, some of these words would have punctuation marks, okay, like an exclamation mark. හරි අපි දැන් මේ වචන ටික ගත්තොත් good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, hello, goodbye, hi. දැන් මේ වචන කියනකොට අපිට නිකම් වචනයක් හැටියට කියන්න බෑ. Right? මේ වචන කියනකොට important දේ තමයි තමන් මේක intonation එක පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ තමන් හඬේ උස් පහත් භාවය පාවිච්චි කරලා මේ වචන ටික කියන්න ඕනේ. නිකම්ම good morning, good afternoon, good evening කියන්න බෑ. මොකද මේ වචන naturally use වෙන්නේ conversation එකකදී. Sentences වල use වෙනවා වගේම සාමාන්‍ය greetings ගැන කතා බහේ use වෙනවනේ. එතකොට ඒව අපි කතා කරනකොට අපේ යම්කිසි හඬේ උස් පහත් භාවයක් පාවිච්චි කරනවා අපි කතා කරනකොට. ඒ natural flow එකම මේ වචන ටික කියනකොට තමන්ගේ තියෙන්න ඕනේ. Right? හරි. අපි බලමු මේ phrases එකින් එක කියන්න. Right? Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So when you say good morning, right? අපි කියන්නේ සුබ උදෑසනක් කියලා. අපි දවල් වෙලාවට greet කරනවා නම් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් දවල් 12 ඉඳන් හවස 4 විතර වෙනකම් මොකද හවස සාමාන්‍ය පටන් ගන්නේ 4ට විතර. අපි දැන් මේක ස්පෙસિෆික් ටයිම් ෆ්‍රේම් එකක් නැහැ. මේ වෙලාවෙ ඉඳන් මේ වෙලාවට මේ ග්‍රීටින් එක කියන එහෙම එකක් නැහැ. මම ටයිම් ෆ්‍රේම් එක දෙන්නේ මොකද රෆ්ලි එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තේරෙනවා උදේ වරුවේ මෙච්චරයි. මේ මෙතනින් පස්සේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ වගේ ග්‍රීටින් එක යන්නේ කියන එක ඒතර ඔයගොල්ලන්ට naturally use කරනකොට use කරන්න පුළුවන් හින්දා, right? Next one, good afternoon. Okay? Good afternoon. අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් දවල් වෙලාවට greet කරනවා නම් good afternoon කියලා තමයි greet කරන්නේ. හවස් වෙලාව සාමාන්‍යයෙන් 4 ඉඳන් 7 විතර වෙනකන් හවස වෙලාවට අපි කියනවා good evening, right? So good evening කියනකොට eve. Okay? So you bite your lower lip. අපේ පල්ලෙහා lip එක eve. You කියන්නේ, right? So we don't say wa. Okay? We say va. Okay? So it's good evening, right? So naturally it will come with your lower lip, right? This one is good night, right? Good night කියන්නේ සුබ රාත්‍රියක් කියන එක. Then good morning, good afternoon, good evening. ඒ තුනම conversation එකක් පටන් ගන්නකොට අපිට use කරන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි good night කියන එක අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් conversation එකක් පටන් ගන්නකොට use කරන්නේ නැහැ. අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් use කරන්නේ conversation එක ඉවර වෙනකොට. ගත්ත ගමන් phone එක good night කියන්නේ නැහැ කෙනෙක්ට. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් conversation එක ඉවර කරන්න ඕනම තමයි අපි good night කියලා කියන්නේ. ඒ හින්දා මතක තියාගන්න good morning, good afternoon, good evening කියන තුනම start of the conversation. Conversation එක පටන් ගන්නකොට use කරන greeting එක. හැබැයි good night කියන එක එක්කෝ අපි ටෙලිෆෝන් conversation එකක් නම් ඉවරුනහම පාවිච්චි කරන එක. නැත්නම් අපි යාළුවෝ ටිකක් හම්බෙලා කතා බහ ඉවරලා ගෙදර යනකොට අන්තිමට කියන greeting එකක්. Next one, hello, and the other one is hi, right? So hello and hi කියන දෙකම එකයි. අපි සිංහලෙන් කියන්නේ hello කියලා, right? So hello නෙවෙයි, it's hello, but අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනකොට කියන්නේ hello කියලා, right? So මේ දෙක අතර වෙනස තමයි දෙකම එකයි. හරි. එහෙනම් ඇයි මේ වචන දෙකක් තියෙන්නේ? So hello කියන එක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් use කරන්නේ අපි formal context එකක. ඒ කියන්නේ අපේ යාළුවෝ නෑදෑයෝ නොවන නොවන අයට අපි කියනවා formal greetings තමයි අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්න කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ යුනිවර්සිටි එකේදී නැත්නම් වැඩ කරන තැනදී නැත්නම් බැංකුවේදී අපිට කාව හරි හම්බෙනවා නම් ඒ අඳුරන්නේ නැති අයව මැනේජර්ව නැත්නම් යුනිවර්සිටි එකක ලෙක්චරර් කෙනෙක් හම්බුනොත් අපි කියන්නේ hello කියලා. right? Goodbye, bye. ඒකත් ඇවිල්ලා එහෙමයි. Goodbye and bye කියන්නේ formal එකේදී අපි use කරන්නේ goodbye කියලා. Informal එකේදී අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ bye කියලා. එතකොට formal hello, goodbye. Informal එකේදී start of the conversation අපි කියනවා hi and the next one we say bye. Okay? So start එකේදී use කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒවා තමයි conversation එකේදී good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, hi, right? So you could use those. But at the end of the conversation, නැත්නම් අවසානයේදී අපිට පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒවා තමයි good night, goodbye, bye, right? So those are some of the words that you could use. ඒ හින්දා මේ වචන ටික හොඳට බලා ගන්න. මොකද මේවා important සාමාන්‍ය එදිනෙදා conversation එකේදීත්, right? So these are the simple greetings that I have picked out so that you would be able to kind of work on them and actually practice these greetings on your own. All right? Right. So moving on, let us have a look at the greetings and responses. Right? Now, greetings are when someone actually tells you these greetings, okay? Responses are how you respond back to these greetings, right? So let's have a look at some of the greetings and some of the responses. Good morning. Good morning. So you could respond back saying good morning. So maybe you meet someone at work, or maybe you meet someone on the way to work, or in the morning time you meet someone that you know, right? You could say good morning. Good afternoon is during the afternoon time, right? And you could respond back saying, good afternoon. Evening time, good evening. And then you could say, good evening, right? Now, why I have not put good night is because it's not usually a greeting at the start. However, if someone greets you good night, you could greet back and say good night at the end of the conversation. Remember, not at the start of the conversation, but at the end of the conversation, right? So, how nice to see you. You could say, yes, it's nice to see you too. Okay. Hello. Hello. How are you? Fine, thanks. So, you could extend these by saying, fine, thanks, and you. Okay. Right? So, you could say, and you. Or you could say, fine, thanks, and how about you? Okay, so you could use different phrases. I'm just teaching you a few so that you could move on with your conversation if you're practicing some of these, right? So, how are you? Fine, thanks. And you? Okay, when we say and you, it's rising intonation. Rising intonation means your voice goes up and it stops there. Okay, and you, right? Next one, how do you do? So you can ask them, how do you do in return? But when they ask you this question, they're asking you, how are you feeling, right? So you could respond and say, how do you do? Good. Okay. Or I'm doing good. Okay. So you could respond saying, how do you do? I'm doing good. How do you do? Or you can say, how about you? So you could move on and ask them, how about you? Right? So let's practice that again. How do you do? I'm doing good. How about you? Okay, or you can say, how do you do? I'm good. How do you do? Okay. How are you doing? Not bad. Okay. Hi. Hi. Right? Informal context. So let's have a look at the greetings again and the responses so you get used to it one more time. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good evening. How nice to see you. Yes, it's nice to see you too. Hello. Hello. How are you? Fine, thanks. And you? How do you do? I'm doing good. Not bad. How about you? How are you doing? Not bad. Hi. Hi. Right? So please try practicing these greetings, right? Because they're very simple. You could try using them in a telephone conversation when maybe you're ordering food, or when you're speaking to one of your friends, or when you're inquiring about something over the phone, or at a supermarket, or at the doctor's, right? Or at the post office when you go, right? Okay, you can't use all of these, right? But you could use some of these, like the simple greetings at least, okay? Okay, අපි බැලුවොත් මේ වචන ටික දිහා මේකේ තියෙන greetings සහ responses. දැන් greetings කියන්නේ අපිට කෙනෙක් ආචාර කරනකොට පාවිච්චි කරන phrases. Responses කියන්නේ අපි කොහොමද ඒවට උත්තර දෙන්නේ. අපි කෙනෙක් අපිට greet කරාම අපි කොහොමද ඒවට respond කරන්නේ, උත්තර දෙන්නේ කොහොමද? Good morning, සුබ උදෑසනක් කිව්වහම අපිත් ඒ කෙනාට good morning, සුබ උදෑසනක් කියලා greet කරනවා. දවල් වෙලාවකදී නම් good afternoon අපි reply කරන්නත් පුළුවන් good afternoon කියලා. හවස් වෙලාවක නම් සුබ සන්ධ්‍යාවක් නම් good evening. So you respond back and say good evening, right? දැන් මෙතනට මම good night කියන එක දාලා නැත්තේ මොකද night time එකේදී සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි කියන්නේ conversation එක start එකේදී අපි කියන්නේ conversation එක ඉවර වුණාම ඒ හින්දා සාමාන්‍ය ඔයගොල්ලෝ යාළුවෝ කට්ටියක් හම්බෙලා ඉවර වෙලා කතාව ඉවර වෙලා ගෙදර යනකොට රෑ නම් good night කියලා පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්, right? නැත්තම් conversation එකක් ඉවර වෙලා telephone conversation එකක් ඉවරලා thank you good night කියන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක මම දාලා නැත්තේ සාමාන්‍ය එක greeting එකේ start එකක් නොවන හින්දා හැබැයි use කරන්න පුළුවන්, right? How nice to see you. ඔබව දැකීම කොච්චර සතුටක්ද, right? So you can say, yes, it's nice to see you too. ඔබව හමුවීමත් ඉතාමත්ම සතුටුයි, right? Hello. Hello. How are you? ඔබ කොහොමද? Fine, thanks. හොඳින් ස්තුතියි. ඒකට අහන්න පුළුවන් අනිත් කෙනාගෙන් උත් ඔබ කොහොමද කියන එක අහන්න ආයි ඕනේ අපිට how are you කියලා අහන්න පුළුවන්, වැරදි නැහැ. But you can ask and you, right? Fine, thanks, and you. So you use it usually when it is an informal context, right? How do you do? ඔබ කොහොමද? You could say, I'm doing good, or you can say I'm good. Okay, you could use either way when you're speaking. Grammatically correct one would be I'm good, or you could say I'm doing good. Okay, how about you? ඔබ කොහොමද? Or you can say, how do you do? Right? How are you doing? Not bad. Hi. Hi, right? How are you doing? How do you do? How are you? ඔක්කොම අදහස් වෙන්නේ ඔබට කොහොමද කියන එක. Right? So බම හොඳින් වරදක් නැහැ. Not bad කියන්නේ වරදක් නැහැ. Right? අපි බලමු ආයි greetings ටික ඊට පස්සේ ඒවට දෙන responses මොනවද කියලා. Right? Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good evening. How nice to see you. Yes, it's nice to see you too. Hello. Hello. How are you? Fine, thanks. And you? How do you do? I'm doing good. How about you? Or you can say, I'm good. How about you? Or you can say, I'm good. How do you do? Right? How are you doing? Not bad. Hi. Hi. Right? So these are the simple greetings and some of the responses that you could respond back with the greetings. Next, we are going to have a look at a word puzzle, right? So we are going to find these words in the puzzle. One reason why I'm doing it is because it reminds you of the greetings, and of course it also helps you to remember the spelling if you're going to write a conversation, okay? Writing a conversation might not necessarily be a part of the IELTS test, but it could be useful for you to know the spellings in case there's at least one word sometimes to write. But it's a very rare chance, okay? Let's have a look at it. So we've got good morning, right? So let's see where good morning is. We have good morning here. Okay. Good afternoon. So we have to have a look at where good afternoon is. So it's right here. Next, we have good evening, Subha Sandhyavak, right? So we have it here. Next, we have good night. Right, which is here. Then we have hello, which is going to be here. Okay. Then we have hi, which is the informal one, which is here. And then we have bye, okay, which is here. Okay. Some of you can even take it, it's here, that's fine. And there's another one that I'd like to pick on, goodbye. Okay, so we could also have a look at goodbye, which is going to be here. Right? So you could have a look at it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, hello, hi, goodbye, bye, right? So the simple greetings in the English language, right? අපි බැලුවොත් මෙතන තියෙන සරලම greetings ටික අපි අර කරපු ටිකම තමයි ආයි පොඩි revision එකක් වගේ යන්නේ. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, hello, hi, goodbye, bye. So simple ones, right? Moving on, let's do a little bit of practice. Now, why have I put it as a revision, as a conversation, is because greetings are not isolated like, food or other vocab, right? This is mainly used in conversation, okay? දැන් මෙතන මම රිවිෂන් එක කරන්නේ conversation එකක් හැටියට මොකද සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි greetings use කරන්නේ conversation එකකදී. අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් isolate කරලා use වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ හින්දා තමයි අපි revision එක conversation based එකක් කරන්නේ, right? So we can say good morning, right? We can say good morning. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Fine. Thanks. How are you? Great. Now, if you say good morning, when I'm using it here, I have used the exclamation mark. Okay? So here, I have used the exclamation mark because it is there in a conversation. Okay? So when you use it in a conversation, it's important that you use the appropriate punctuation marks, right? Let's practice it again. Good morning. Okay, so you can say good morning, or you can cut it off. If there is not a lot of people, you can just say good morning. One to one, you can say good morning. If there's a lot of people, you can say good morning, everyone. Okay. So let's try it again, thinking it's one to one. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Fine, thanks. How are you? Great. Okay. So you could have variations. Fine, thanks. And you? You can have lots of variations. Let's practice the simple ones and then you can go into the other big variations. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Fine, thanks. And you? Great. Okay. And you, or you can say, I'm good. Right. So you can have different responses. You can change this. You can say, good evening. Good evening. How are you? Fine, thanks. And you? I'm good. Right. Then මම රිවිෂන් එක conversation එකක් හැටියට practice කරන්නේ මොකද අනිත් vocab food drinks වගේ නෙවෙයි මේක greetings අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ conversation එකකදී ඒ හින්දා අපි ඒක practice කරනකොටත් conversation එකකදී තමයි අපි practice කරන්න ඕනේ right ඒ හින්දා තමයි අපි greetings ටික conversation එකකට දාන්නේ ඊට අමතරව පේනවා ඇති good morning කිව්වහම exclamation mark එක තියෙනවා. දැන් මම ඉස්සෙල්ලා කිව්වා වගේ vocab උගන්වනකොට ඒක පාවිච්චි කරේ නැති වුණාට conversation එකේදී ගැළපෙන විදියට punctuation use කරන්න ඕනේ. right? අපි conversation එක practice කරමු. Good morning. Good morning. Everyone කියන්න පුළුවන් ගොඩක් අය ඉන්නවා නම් නමුත් එක්කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා නම් you can just say good morning, right? Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Okay. How are you? ඔබට කොහොමද? Fine, thanks. හොඳින්. ස්තුතියි. How are you? ඔබට කොහොමද? How are you කියන එකට අහන්න පුළුවන් නැත්නම් and you, right? Fine, thanks. And you? So you can say great or you can say I'm good. කැමති response එකක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේ මම දාලා තියෙන responses කියන්නේ එන්න පුළුවන් එකම response එක නෙවෙයි right වෙනස් responses දෙන්න පුළුවන් මම simple එකක් තමයි ඔයගොල්ලන්ට දාලා තියෙන්නේ you can now change it saying good evening also right අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් good evening how are you fine thanks how are you great okay so simple greetings simple විදියට practice කරන්න පුළුවන්. So coming back to our lesson, okay, we have had a look at greetings today. And we had a look at the simple greetings in the English language like good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, hi, bye, goodbye, good night. Okay. We've also had a bit of other phrases like how are you doing, how do you do, simple other phrases. And we also had a look at the responses for those phrases. අද lesson එකේදී අපි mainly focus කරේ greetings ආචාර කරන විදිය ගැන මොනවද අපිට පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් simple greetings සුබ උදෑසනක් සුබ සන්ධ්‍යාවක් සුබ රාත්‍රියක් hello ඔබට කොහොමද ඔබ හොඳින්ද so simple ඒ වගේ phrases ටිකක් අපි practice කරා ඒවට respond කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියන එක අපි practice කරා revision එකේදී අපි කරේ simple conversation එකක් base කරගෙන කොහොමද අපි කෙනෙක්ට greet කරන්නේ කොහොමද ඒකට respond කරන්නේ කියන එක තමයි අපි එකට practice කරේ. So now I hope you have a good understanding of the basic greetings and I want you to keep on practicing them when you go to the supermarket, when you're talking with your parents. You can even greet them and say good morning. Okay, when you talk with your friends and improve your vocabulary and the use of the greetings. That brings us to the end of the lesson, which was all about greetings.